let's not beat around the bush with this one. It's from the industrious lot at WinWing. They've added to their Airbus family of peripherals, comes with a snappy name of the URSA Minor 32 throttle metal. That's a mouthful. And is it any good? Oh yes it is. It's very good indeed. Other than selecting a profile, it's plug and play. Based on the A320, I've reviewed a number of products from WinWing. If you missed those videos, link in the notes below. And when measured up against competitive similar products, well, it's the best of the bunch. Welcome back to the Simhanger. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for watching, and let's get started. For our test today, we're in the Phoenix A320. Complex aircraft, perhaps the most complex Airbus A320 in sim currently. As always, I'll be showing you what you get and running through all the necessary details. But first and foremost, let's deal with the all-important issue of price. And in this case, for what you get, I think the prices are very competitive. My review unit consists of two separate parts. One is the throttle component, which can be used as a standalone device of course, and the second is the 32-pack medal, which is an add-on to the throttle unit, not standalone, and adds the optional parking brake, speed brake or spoiler, rudder trim and so on. So in terms of pricing, I'm using the combo unit. Refer to the WinWing website for latest and updated regional pricing. As mentioned earlier, we will have a look at all the detail and what you get, etc. But first of all, let's jump in the cockpit and see it in action. After all, that's the most important part. Let's test out the parking brake. You can only turn the parking brake if you lift it up first, preventing you from knocking it on or off accidentally. Spring-loaded has a nice feel to it, though I will say, compared to all the other buttons and switches, it does feel a bit plasticky. Above that, we've got our rudder trim switch. Turn the switch to the left to trim the rudder to the left. I've trimmed it to 0.5, and you'll note that corresponds exactly what's being recorded in sim. Press the reset button to recenter your rudders. The rudder switch itself is again spring-loaded with automatic return to center. But the speed brake or spoiler is in a class of its own. Pull it up to arm. Once armed, it's locked in place. To actually activate the spoilers, you've got to push it right down and then engage this speed brake. Between retract and full, it only has one detent, and that's half. Once again, I assume, mimicking the real Airbus, the deployment of the speed brake is fully graduated from full all the way to retract. WinWing's attention to authenticity is commendable. Let's now turn our attention to the flaps. To move from one position or detent to the other, you need to lift up the lower lever, otherwise the flap is locked in place. This again is a real-world safety feature to prevent you from accidentally moving the flap lever unintentionally. The fire or fault buttons 1 and 2, I couldn't get these to activate, although in test they are fully operational. The engine mode selector works fine, move it to crank or start as desired. Nice feel and click to the movement. As you can see, I haven't mounted the unit just to make filming a little bit easier. But there are a variety of mounting options which we will cover a little bit later on in the video. Let's now turn our attention to the throttles. Now I don't know if these are full size or not. They're considerably larger than the type we've seen previously, and friction or tension can be adjusted. We've just moved from climb to MCT or maximum continuous thrust, and now full thrust or toga. This throttle has the detents in the relevant positions, but you do have the option to do away with the detents if you want. Now back to idle, and we can test reverse. First we'll go to reverse idle. To move into reverse, we need to lift the small levers in front of the throttle. It is a hard stop at idle. There's also a detent here, and of course we can pull the throttles all the way back to max reverse. Gotta say, I really enjoy the feel of the thrust levers. Okay, we can come out of max reverse, go back to idle reverse. There we are. Now to move to idle, we just push the levers forward. There's a click and the small levers in front of the throttle go down. Visual indication that we're in forward thrust mode. Engine 1 and 2 fuel valves are there, and we can pull them into the off position. Very nice again, you have to lift it up to move it back. Once again, a safety feature so you don't accidentally knock it. Looks like WinWing haven't missed a trick with this unit. And we now have engine cutoff, and engine 1 and engine 2 now spooling down. And lastly, before we have a look at some of the more finer details, I must say the lighting of the unit is absolutely beautiful, and it's fully synced with the Phoenix in Sim. If I go to the pedestal light, I can adjust it here. Now turn the lights off, now turning them up all the way to bright. Very, very nice feature indeed. The variant you're seeing is that I'm filming in a fairly dark room, and in Sim it's in midday. But overall the lighting, well, it's going to leave a smile on your face. One unexpected feature of the throttle quadrant is that it has haptic feedback. Here I'm moving down the runway, going to turn the sound off on the Sim and turn it up on the camera. I'm feeling a vibration through my hands as I move into max reverse. Not really realistic for an aircraft such as this, but a great option for smaller jets, etc. We've seen the units in operation, now let's have a look at them individually, and we'll start with the URSA 32 throttle. Overall, the quality of the product is very good, and that extends to the packaging as well. Connection is via the throttle, one USB-C to USB-A. Color-wise, it matches all the other Airbus units that they've manufactured, and when you first pick up the throttle, the first thing that'll hit you is the weight. It's heavier than you expect, and that's because it's got a cast aluminium base with data connection points and channels for the 32-pack unit. I have no idea, to be honest, whether this is the real size, but it looks and feels considerably larger and heavier than, say, product from Thrustmaster. Buttons have a nice tactile feel to them. The upper body is made out of a hardened plastic, and when using the various switches there's a definite click, so you know when it's engaged. The engine fuel valves, these have been very nicely done, and as mentioned, to move them you need to lift them up, and once again they're spring loaded. When you consider the cost of this unit, I think it's exceptional value for money. The printing on the unit is clear and easy to read, and those throttle handles, well, they're just a fantastic size. The axes are controlled via non-contact Hall effect sensors, so you can be fairly confident of accuracy for an extended period of time, and both throttle axes feature very clearly defined detents at flex or maximum continuous thrust, at climb, and also at idle. When I say detent, it's really more a defined notch. Lift the lever to move into reverse. If you don't lift the lever, well, then you can't move into reverse, it's a hard stop. One very nice and very effective feature is that you can adjust the tension of both the axes. That's done via these two wheels here. Turn it anti-clockwise to loosen, turn it clockwise to stiffen up and increase the amount of friction. Features like this are often marginal, but not on this unit. Now to move the throttles, I need to hold the unit down. Very nicely done indeed. Each of the levers have a red button depending on the model you're flying. This could be toga go around or auto throttle disconnect. If you're not flying an A320, for example, you may not want the detents. Perhaps you're flying a Boeing or something. Move this switch to the off position, and all the forward detents on the throttle are now gone. You still have the hard stop at idle, but the rest of the movement is completely smooth, making this unit suitable not just for A320 or 21 pilots. The unit itself at the front has a number of slots to accommodate the WinWing desk mount, which is an additional purchase, but also slots at the back to accommodate the Pack 32. Let's now have a look at the Pack 32, then we'll look at them joined together. As you unpack the various components, you do get a general feeling of overall quality. The comments I made about the throttle unit apply equally to this unit. They can be purchased separately, but you need the throttle unit to connect to the PC and activate. As you would expect, they come with the relevant data cables, as well as a plethora of nuts and bolts for connection to desk mount or to the throttle unit itself. And this is a nice touch. For both the speed brake and flap handle, it comes with an additional panel, again mimicking a real Airbus to suit cockpit builders out there, as both the speed brake and flap unit can be detached and mounted separately from the parking brake unit. I've already demonstrated the use and function of the various levers, switches and dials and so on, but here's a slightly closer look. Flap handle, you need to raise the lower portion in order to move it to the next detent. The rudder trim is spring-loaded as a return to center with an LED display and reset button. The parking brake is also spring-loaded and you need to lift it in order to turn it. Has a nice solid click to it when it's in position, although, and once again as already mentioned, it's got a slightly plastic feel to it. The star of the show, of course, for me is the speed brake. You have arm position and it locks in place. Push down in order to activate. Has one detent in the half position, as previously demonstrated. Fitting the units together is fairly straightforward. The Pack 32 unit already comes with the rails installed. Simply slide them into place, and using 2 nuts and 2 bolts, they're simply screwed and held fast. Full dimensions are available on the WinWing website. There are a number of mounting holes underneath. You're also given a number of heavy-duty sticky pads that you can stick it down on a desk with. You get the option to label the fuel valves or engine cutoffs, and each throttle comes with engines 1 through 4, so you can double up if you want to on the throttle unit, for anybody wanting a detailed 4-engine replica. Before closing off, there's one other aspect I want to mention that I think is important. That's to do with configuring in the Sim App Pro, the software that drives all the WinWing products. Here's a perfect place to test every axis, button and dial, but let's head over to the calibration tab, so you don't run into difficulties. To activate both the speed brake and flap axes, you will need to calibrate first, and you do so using this top section. You can use this also for throttles. It gives you step-by-step instructions. Don't fall into the trap I did and try and use the bottom section to calibrate initially. To activate a profile, you will need to go to Key Bindings, select that tab, select the relevant sim that you're using, in my case Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I'm selecting the WinWing default profile. Now I'm going to select Run before I start my sim. Note you'll probably only need to do this once, unless changing aircraft. Then select the relevant profile. It will only offer you the profiles that you have created in Sim via the Controls menu. So before trying to activate any profile, in Sim, create a blank profile. In my case I called it Throttle. You can call it anything that you want. I stress again, a blank profile. Once you select it here, Sim App Pro will write the configuration to that profile in Sim, then select Activate, and you're away. I am, in all honesty, very impressed with this peripheral, the way it interacts with the Sim, and works largely hassle-free. The product, in my opinion, is of a good quality, at what I consider a very fair price. Just bear in mind pricing excludes shipping and local duties, etc., but nonetheless you're getting quite a lot for your money. And the ease of use, simplicity, and increased authenticity and therefore immersion, well, it's almost priceless. I am of course aware that WinWing have been a bit slow in terms of shipment, but I'm also equally aware that they're trying very hard to improve matters, and overall I have no hesitation in giving this my personal recommendation. A great opportunity to complete your Airbus setup. No doubt there's more on the way. As always, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you found it useful and informative. Stay well, look after yourself, see you all again very soon, and ciao for now, captains.